Hello, welcome to Medical Moms of NICU. I'm Tanisha, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Tessa Hart, who we go back to Cincinnati, Ohio. We both were in the NICU together, and she was her son Anthony was in the same pod as my son Khalil. So we have an instant connection, and then we're both first-time moms, and we both have babies, sons that have complex care. So it's a pleasure to have her on here, and she's into Kentucky and she's a stay-at-home mom just like me. So we have a lot of connections, and so I can instantly connect with her based on all our history together. So thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
Well, thank you for asking me. Like, I feel honored.
Well, I said, well, why not? The thing that I'm concentrating on is NICU, so why not plug in
Right.
that I know face to face? So I appreciate your time. And I know that we started out talking about Anthony's diagnosis, which is congenital CMV. Now, can you explain that briefly about CMV, what it is, and
Yes. Congenital CMV, when they first told me that that was his diagnosis,
mhm.
I was like, now say what? And Anthony is almost 18 months old, and I'm just now learning to pronounce it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It, yeah, it's cytomegalovirus.
Mm,
Cytomegalovirus. It's a virus that I got when I was pregnant with him. Um, and where I was so sick, like I didn't even realize that I was sick with this virus.
mhm,
And it's very common, but it's not really talked about. And it's passed across the placenta from the mom to the baby,
mhm.
and you rarely have symptoms. Um, and it says, every hour one child is permanently disabled by this disease virus, and it just so happens that Anthony is one out of the four. It can cause vision loss, microcephaly, which is where the head is. I think it either grows too fast or it doesn't grow fast enough, maybe. Um, and they told us that Anthony had microcephaly because his head was small,
Mhm.
but it's growing. Like every time he goes for a well visit,
Mhm.
it's growing like it should.
Good. That's good.
It can also cause behavior issues, mental disability, cerebral palsy, and seizures.
Mhm.
Um, Anthony does have seizures. He was diagnosed with infantile spasms, which is a rare form of seizures.
Mhm.
So it's not like what you would normally think of when you think seizure. Like his is just jerks, like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But it can cause more damage to the brain.
Mhm.
And he's on four different types of medicine. Three of them are seizure medicines, and then he's on one for the thyroid.
Okay.
He's on. You said that Jaleel was on iron.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, Anthony's on polyvisol with iron. Yeah,
So yeah, and so you said and you also mentioned that CMV can cause hearing loss and vision loss.
yes. Anthony has severe hearing loss in his right ear. He may be able to hear a jet take off if he's right beside it. And
Okay.
in his left ear, he can hear like if we were to have earplugs in,
Uh huh.
that's how he hears out of his left ear. And he has hearing aids, but we can't tell a difference whenever he wears them. So we don't even put them on him. And he sings because he recognizes voices.
Mhm.
If he's asleep and you barely cough or he hears a door open, like he'll wake up.
Wow, that's
I think
amazing.
he has selective hearing, is what I think. It runs in the family.
They're around that age where they build character and personality, so I'm not
Yes,
surprised.
yes. And he has a very strong personality.
Yeah, well, it took a lot to get him here, Tessa, and I just admire your strength and your faith. What kept you going in this journey? Because I know you said that when you first found out the news about CMV, that they were talking about, pulling the plug and termination? What kept you going as a mother?
Like I've always, ever since I was a kid, like just envisioned being a mom. And like I've always loved kids. I've dated people that had children previously. And like I just always wanted to be a mom. And then when I found out I was pregnant, obviously I was scared. And then as the journey went on and they were telling me that, he had this wrong and this wrong and this wrong, I'm like, what am I going to do? And then it's like, God has a purpose for everything.
Right.
Maybe I'm not supposed to be a mom. Maybe I'm only supposed to be a mom for, 3 months. I don't know. But, and as crazy as it is, like, really looking back now, like then I knew how serious it was. Like they would have to bag him. I really don't know how to explain that. Like more so he couldn't breathe on his own. So like something you would see on The Good Doctor or any medical show where they have to use that bag and squeeze air to their lungs.
Right.
They had to do that a bunch. And it's like a part of me was numb because I was trying not to get too attached, so to say, which is impossible, as all you moms know.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole time all this was happening, like I just had this overwhelming feeling that everything was going to be okay and he was going to make it. And that's God, like I didn't really want to talk about it with anybody at the time about how scared I was. And thank God I have a big support system anyways. My parents, my sister, my fiance, like he was there. Like I had so much support, and even though I didn't want it, I see now that I needed them there, even though I was frustrated with them. And like all of them had pretty well given up with the doctors at UK, but none of them forced me or was like, maybe you need to listen to the doctors. I knew that as long as he was still breathing and his heart was still beating, that he was fighting, and I was going to fight with him. God let him make it that far for a reason, so I wasn't going to give up.
And then Anthony had a 5-month NICU stay, right?
Yep, come home on his 5-month birthday.
That's awesome. I know you had, I remember seeing you getting ready for discharge, and I was hoping and itching that we were too, and we got back to back. But it's just phenomenal. How is Anthony now at 18 months?
Well, like we said a while ago, he has a big personality. And with all his medical issues, like looking at him, you wouldn't be able to tell, just like looking at Jaleel. He smiles all the time, laughs. He loves to take naps. He loves bath time.
That's awesome.
He still can't sit up on his own. He won't hold his bottle. He can, because he has, but he won't.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, you guys are going to do it for me.
Right. That's
cool. His head control has gotten a lot better. He's still wobbly, but he's in physical therapy, occupational, speech, and vision. The vision thing he has is cortical impairment. I knew it would finally dawn on me, and so it can get better with age.
Okay.
It just means that he can see a little bit out of his peripheral vision, and it's better on his left side.
Now, how are you able, because I know you have to administer medicines to Anthony and you got the therapies, how are you able to manage all this as a medical mom? What's your secret?
Well, I live with my parents, so I have a lot of help there.
That's good.
Wow, that's a good question. It's like, how do I do it? Whenever I have to think about it, like I just do it. Yeah. No, in the mornings, he gets it as soon as he wakes up, and it's just like I've gotten it routine of it. Whenever we first come home, we had to put a list on the refrigerator of which medicine, how much,
Okay.
when to give it. Um, and of course, thank God, like I said, I live with my parents, so there's always somebody to remind me. I keep a calendar and I write everything in the world on there. Like if he's getting a new medicine, I write when he's supposed to stop it or up it. And I stay in constant contact with his neurologist, especially. I usually contact him once a week just to let them know how he's doing with his spasms and if the medicine's making him too sleepy or if it's keeping him up or.
That's good. Asked her what lessons she learned from that experience. So you can go ahead and share.
Okay. I think the biggest lesson that I learned personally is to follow your heart. I know a lot of first time moms with sick or medically fragile children, like, they're worried about whenever that baby comes that they may not know what to do. And my mom always told me that mother's instinct will kick in. And it did. It's like, I knew how sick he was. I knew he was going to have problems. But I knew that it was not time to let him go. I just knew in my heart that there was more that I could do. And the main reason that I had him moved from UK to Cincinnati was because if he was going to die, I wanted him to die knowing that I did everything I possibly could to save his life. And so it's like, don't give up. If you know in your heart that you're not ready to give up or that there's something else you can do it. Because UK is an amazing, amazing hospital. They saved my baby's life and they did what they could with what they knew. But if I did not get him transferred, he would not be here right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I appreciate that, and what you shared is amazing to me because you were saying that it's a beautiful thing to have a support system because you cannot do this all by yourself. Even though we are powerful moms, we still need some help, even with a baby that's completely healthy. So just imagine if you have a child with complex needs. And now, one thing that you mentioned earlier, and I don't think we recorded it, but you were talking about how Anthony, he gets therapies. Now, he gets some therapies at home, right?
Yes, he gets his speech therapy and his vision therapy through First Steps.
Okay.
And it's a free agency. I don't know if you guys have it in Arkansas.
We have something similar. It's called Arkansas Kids First, following baby back home.
Okay, yeah, so it's same difference more or less. So they come to my home, and Anthony's speech therapist, she is amazing. Like, he adores her. His vision therapist, he had one ever since he come home, and she ended up having to leave him because she lived too far away. So we're just getting acquainted, so to say, with this new therapist. Okay. And of course, she came right when he had to start them steroids and his sleep schedule was all messed up. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of rough trying to get her used to Anthony whenever he's more or less at his worst because he sleeps a lot. But she's super nice and patient, and that helps because it's two less places we have to go. His physical therapy, his occupational therapy, I have to drive to the next town, which is about 20-minute drive, so it's not bad. And they do them in the same day, back to back, so that helps.
Right. And that way you won't have to worry about back-to-back appointments. So that's good. I'm thankful again, Tessa Hart, for sharing your story about Anthony. I'm glad he's moving in the right direction. Our babies have come so far, and it just warms my heart to know that Anthony's doing well, and I know that he will continue to do well because he has loving parents and a loving support system. So thank you again for your time. I appreciate it. And
Thank you for having me. And if anybody has any questions about congenital CMV, again, it's the cytomegalovirus. If anyone has any questions, I will answer to the best of my ability. And if I don't know, I will find out for you.
right, because in this journey, you learn a lot of medical jargon.
Yes. So if I did not explain something well enough, just let me know. Or Tanisha can let you know because she probably knows more than I do.
Oh no, this is new. This is a learning experience for me, so that's why I'm glad you came on here, Tessa. So thank you.